It's Ijoma Uday, and you're welcome to I Just Packs Made. So here I'm going to be showing us how to make this beautiful shirt with an elastic waistband and then this fancy rope in front. Okay, you can see I'm so excited, right? Because the shirt is giving. So let's get started. First off, it's important to know your crotch length. Now, to get an accurate crotch length, simply sit on a flat surface, either a table or a chair, and then take your measurement from your high waist touching the stool or the table, or your low waist touching the stool or the table. Okay, make sure that you are seated comfortably, like well balanced, like in a good posture to take the measurements. Okay, this works magic, like it works well. Okay, I'll be working with a 1.5 yard fabric. I hope on using the other part of the remaining fabric for a shirt. So these are the measurements I'll be working with. I'll be working with my hip, my crotch, my short length, and my thigh. Now I also forgot to include my hip length, so I later did that while the video was going on. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to go ahead and create a baseline. Now this baseline is important because at a point in this pattern I came up by 1/2 inch, so I need my baseline. So I came down by 1 inch for the baseline, and when I was done I came out by 1.5 inch on the sides. Now this is also a baseline just to block this part. Okay, it helps me make my trouser pattern. It makes my trouser making easy, so I do it and it works for me. Okay, so you come in by 1.5 inch on your side, and on the upper part of your pattern you're coming down by 1 inch for creating a baseline. Then when I'm done, I'm going to go down by my hip length. Now don't forget that the toughest or the widest part around your butt is where you take your measurement. So it's going to be from your waist down to that part. That's how you get your hip length. And when I'm done, I'm going to be imputing my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches. Now, because I don't want this short to be fitted, I'm going to be taking my 2 inches. And remember that it is an elastic waistband, so I'm using my hip measurement as well on my waistline. Now, when this is done, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to find the midpoint from this point to the end of this point. I have 12 inches up here, so divided by 2 is 6 inches, and I'm going to just come up by 1/2 inch. Why? Because I want to create like a slope on my front pattern. Then I'm going to connect with a slanted line connecting to that midpoint. Okay, so it's going to give me like a slope. Now because of this slope, I'm going to come in from this center front by 1/2 inch or 0.3 inches. Now this is going to give your front crotch like a more flat surface, a flat fit. Okay, so this is what it should look like from your waist to your hip line. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be taking my crotch length. Remember when we sat on our stool to take our crotch length? Yeah, okay, so now this is the measurement I'm going to be putting down. So I'm going to be putting down 11 inches because this is a high-waisted shirt. So my crotch length was actually 11 inches. So I came down by 11 inches. Okay. And now when that is done, to get your crotch depth, the formula is simply your hip line plus 1/4 of your hip line. Yes, your hip line plus 1/4 of your hip line. Now your hip line is your hip divided by 4. That is your hip line plus 1/4 of your hip line, which means that same hip you have divided by 4. When you are done, you add everything together. So my hip divided by 4 is 10 plus 10 divided by 4. Okay, please don't get confused. This gives you an accurate crotch depth, making that thigh area very okay, whether for a fitted nature or for a free nature. Now, after doing this, remember that we are adding 2 inches ease allowance on this pattern. So I had 12.5. I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 inches. Okay, yeah, so I hope you're following. Please don't get confused, please. If you've gotten up to this point in this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. We'll really appreciate. And the next thing I went ahead to do was to take my trouser length, and when I was done, I went down, measured my crotch depth divided by 2 and placed it all the way down on that crotch length and connected a line to meet up. So I divided the crotch depth by 2, connected the line to meet up, and this is what it looks like. So now for this thigh area, I'm going to take my thigh measurement and then divide it by 4. Okay, I'm taking my thigh measurement divided by 4 because I've divided this center front into 4 pieces. That is why there's a center line. Okay, so I'm going to put my main line in the center front area and then the leftover at this side, and I'm going to be adding my inches allowance on this side. Okay, take note, I added the allowance on the sides of the shorts. So I'm not going to be doing 2 inches on the side on the leg part because I don't want the leg to be too big. So I did 1.5 inch. So here we are done with our center front, and I'll just go ahead and cut. Okay, please, I hope we are getting this pattern. Now you can actually alter this pattern to make a long trouser or a short trouser, but the only difference is that it will have to be an elastic band. Okay, so now let's go ahead and cut our back pattern. So let's go ahead and cut our back pattern. Now I'm going to be measuring from my waist down to my hip line, and then I'm going to find the midpoint. Okay, I'll be measuring my waist down to my hip line, find the midpoint, draw a line across, and then slash it. Okay, I'll go ahead and just slash it. Now when I'm done slashing, for a person with a very big butt, you can go as wide as 2.5 inch. For someone with a normal butt, you can go as far as 1.5 inch. So I don't have a big bum, so I'm going to be working with 1.5 inch. Now I'm supposed to use a tracing wheel and trace all of this out and all of that process, but I do not use it. I just work with this pattern this way, and it still comes out great. So I'm just going to go ahead. Remember that on our center front, we took out 0.5 inch to make the front flat. So now we don't need that for our back. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the back. Now you can still work with it this way. Since it's an elastic waistband, it will still work perfectly. But just to avoid any error, I'll go ahead and replace that 0.5 inch we took at the center front. I'll replace it at the back, and then just go ahead and trace out my pattern to my back block and cut everything out just like so. Okay, now you should be wondering if we're not adding any allowance right on this center front area. You can go ahead, even on the sides, you can go ahead and add an allowance. For me, I didn't want it to be more than 1 inch seam allowance, so I used 2, one for the ease and then one for the seam allowance. Then for the center front areas, I'm going to still be adding my 0.5 inch all around. Now you are going to be adding this 0.5 inch to your pattern, to your fabric, right? I mean your fabric. So don't forget, you're adding this 0.5 inch all around your fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and transfer this pattern to my fabric. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, as it will mean a lot to me. So I'm going to be taking my hem allowance. I'm going to be using 1.5 inch for my hem allowance, and then I'm going to be coming out by 0.5 inch on the sides, on the center front area of my trouser, of my short. So this is my 0.5 inch. I'm going to be marking 0.5 inch all around my shorts. So I hope you can see what we are doing here. I'll just go ahead and do the same thing. This is our back pattern. I'll go ahead after cutting. I'll do the same thing on the front pattern. Don't forget that I used 1.5 inch, and this short length was 19 inches. Yes, I used 1.5 inch for my hem allowance, and then have an inch on the center front area, and you can still put 1 inch on the sides if you want your shorts to be really free. And then you can actually put only 1 inch on the sides without the so much allowance. I just wanted these shorts to be free. That was why I added up to 2 inch ease on the side. Okay, so take note of that. Now when that is done, I'll just take my time and cut this all out. I'm also going to be doing a detailed explanation on how to do a trouser pocket. So now at this center front, I'm going to be coming in by 2.5 inch. I'm coming in by 2.5 inch on this center front, and then going down by 7 inches. Going down by 7 inches. Okay, coming in on the waist area by 2.5 inch and going down by 7 inches. And I'm now going to create a notch, and when I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and create my trouser band. Now I'm just going to use the total waist I have plus an allowance, then I'll fold into 2. Now the width of this is going to be 2.5 inches because I'm working with a 2-inch band. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut it all out. So for this band, we will still reduce the band width. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut my pocket for my short pocket. I came out by 7 inches by 13. Okay, so the length of this pocket is 13 inches. The width is 7 inches. Now you can use 6, you can use 6.5. It's all your preference. Okay, but I use 7 inches here because I'm going to be turning the pocket. I want a neat finish on my pocket, so I'm going to be turning my pocket. So that's why I used that 7 inches. Now I went ahead to iron out the part where I notch. Now for the part where you notch, you're going to like bend it in sort of like a slanted form, like what I showed previously. And then when you are done, you're going to be placing the back of this pocket to the back of your main short pocket. Okay, so the back of this pocket to the back of your main short pocket. Now when you're done with that, you turn it towards that lane to the front and then stitch. Now you can work with just that method and sew the pocket all the way and it will come out well, but because I want a neat finish, that is why I usually close this part so that the part where I interfaced on this short will not show. Okay, now I just want to show you how to just fix a good pocket. Then when we are done, we'll finish up this trouser and fix up our elastic waistband. Now when I'm done with this, I'll go ahead and iron it on my ironing table, and then I'll go back and bend it. Remember our slant, right? I'll go back and bend it this way and then top stitch it. So I'll just go ahead and stitch all the way down. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, as it will mean a lot to me. I will be so grateful. Okay, so now when I'm done stitching all the way down, I'll also go back and top stitch the inner part that is now slanted as well. I'll just top stitch it so that it will be flat on this pocket. Then when I'm done, I'll just trim off all my excess thread and then fold it to close. Now when folding it to close, remember we took out 2.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tape measure to measure the area where I have my waistline to be sure I still have my 2.5 inches. And then I'll go down and create like a curve on my pocket, create a notch as well, fold it to the front and sew it to close it up. Now you can still sew it from the back, but because we don't want the stitch showing at the back, we'll just turn it all the way to the front and fold it to close. Okay, so now when this is done, remember to confirm that you still have your 2.5 inch on your waist area. Okay, you can see that our trouser pocket, our short pocket, is actually ready. Don't forget to confirm that you have your 2.5, and when you are done, top stitch the upper side, which is your waist part, and then also top stitch the end of this pocket like so. Okay, top stitch it so that everything will sit flat. Okay, so now when this is done, I'll just go ahead and join up my shorts. So I'm going to be closing the center front to front, and then I would also do the same thing for my center back, and then I'll go ahead and join the sides. Remember that I did 2-inch allowance, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and use 1 inch out of the 2-inch I added to the trouser, and I'll join everything all around. Okay, and when I'm done, I will take my shorts to my ironing table and bend in that 1.5 inch hem allowance. Now this is what we have here, and then I'll go ahead and sew it all the way down. And now when I'm done, I'll go ahead and sew in my crotch area. So this is it. I've sewn in my crotch area, and this short is fully sewn, like it's fully covered. So now what is left is for us to just insert our elastic waistband. So let us get straight to that. So now for this elastic waistband, I'm going to go ahead and confirm the total measurement I have right now after all the sewing is done, and I have about 21.5. So I'm going to go to my band measurements, the fabric I cut out for my band, to also confirm how many inches I have here. Okay, and now when I've done this, I'll go ahead and iron it out on my ironing table so that I can create a channel to fix in my band. Now remember that I cut off an excess because I had an excess waistband, so I went ahead to reduce it to match my short waist. So now this is okay, this is perfect. So don't forget to always confirm before you start sewing. So now this is the elastic I'll be working with. I'm using a 2-inch elastic band, and I'll be working with a total length of 23 inches. So this elastic is 23 inches. Okay, so I don't want the shorts to be too tight, so I just used the 23 inches. And when I'm done, I'll go ahead and close up this band so that I can pass in my elastic into the band. Okay, so when I'm done sewing this, I went ahead to push in my elastic using a pin. It's not an office pin. What is it called? I've forgotten. I passed the pin all the way and then closed up the end when I was done. Now you'd be very careful so that your elastic doesn't pull out from the other end. Now when I was done closing it up, the next thing I was going to do is that I'm going to still stitch the middle part of this elastic. I remember that while fixing this elastic, I still have about half an inch on the ending part of this band, which I will be joining. I'll be using as my hemming allowance or my joining allowance to my shorts. Okay, so now when I'm done sewing it, look at this is what it looks like. I had to test it on my waist to be sure it's not too tight, and yeah, it was actually okay. Then I went ahead to close it up so that I could sew it all around my waist. So I went ahead to close it up so I could sew it all around. Now when you close this part up, remember to place it at the back of your short or your trouser. don't place it towards the front or towards the sides, okay? So when you place it, you pin it down and then sew with that 1/2 inch sewing allowance that we left there. Also, while sewing, a little part of the elastic will be joined to the short, and that is okay. All right, that is very okay. So now at this point, we're actually done with the short. So you can use your shorts like this, or you can still go ahead and just add this fancy rope to it. Now the rope is not going to do anything, it's just fancy, it's just a style. Yes, it's just a style. So I just went ahead to just make the rope, and then after doing this, I just stitched it to the center front of my short. Don't forget that you're going to be stitching it to the center front of your short, okay? And when this is done, our short is fully ready, okay? So this is what it looks like. Now if you were starting a ready to wear brand, you should actually learn how to do this. It would help you and to help your business, because people love free things like this. So now this is what the finished look was like. You can see that the shirt is beautifully sewn. There's no bulge around the crotch. You can tell there's no bulge. So we've come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. See you on my next. Bye.